Well, welcome to the final quarter on the CBS 8 Plus app. I am Jake Ariani. That is John Howard, and that is Karthik Venkatraman. I got jokers to the left of me. What's the other lyric?
Clowns to the right, here I am, stuck in the middle with you.
In case you're wondering what happens behind the scenes as we wait for this show to come on, we sing Steelers Wheel, which we had a fun trivia question to figure out who sang that song. This has nothing to do with sports. Let's get into
Has everything to do with it.
Let's get into some sports and less Steelers Wheel, although we can talk music whenever you want. Last time we spoke, fellas, the trade deadline was upon us. It hadn't been here yet. We now know what the Padres did. Let's touch a little bit on that deadline, although I think we could all say it was a good deadline for the San Diego Padres. They bring in Robbie Ray. They bring in Casey Mize. They bring in Gage Workman, the first two of those three being the most important pieces. We already saw Casey Mize make his debut, and it wasn't pretty. 3 1/3, 8 earned runs, if you can put that aside, which I know is a hard ask. But what did you think about the deadline? Do you think A.J. Preller did enough to put this team in position?
Well, I think getting the two starting pitchers is something they absolutely needed. And the Casey Mize thing, unless he's got something wrong with him wearing a brown jersey, he goes against his psyche. That's not the Casey Mize we're going to see the rest of the year. So I'm sure the Casey Mize thing will pan out. So getting the two starting pitchers, I was really thinking we'd see a left-handed bat, but that didn't happen.
Gage Workman,
who had a double yesterday that scored some runs, by the way.
I think Alec Burleson was much more wanted, but can I interest you in Gage Workman?
I'll take a bases clearing double from a left-handed bat.
That's good. I wanted to see Mickey Moniak, the San Diego kid, brought in, but whatever. It was a good deadline for the Padres. Maybe not as much fanfare as A.J. Preller usually has, but he got the job done. Now it's up to the team to carry it out and see if they can get this wild card spot.
I went from talking about Steelers wheel to the Padres wheeling and dealing because that's what they were able to do. They had to go address their starting pitching. That's exactly what they do. They go get a couple of starting pitchers and Robbie Ray and Casey Mize. And, Casey Mize, I don't think that's the same performance, kind of what John said that we're going to see from him. He has a 2.70 ERA on the season. It was his worst start. I think just the newness of having been traded, then hitting the road, then coming over here, joining the team, getting acclimated.
It's a lot.
It probably was just a lot for him. I'm going to chalk it up to that's what it was, and that's what it is. Robbie Ray, on the other hand, since June 16th, tied for the best ERA in all of MLB.
If he comes up and gives up 8 runs on Friday, then we got serious issues.
That would be tough. But we just saw him pitch against the Padres not too long ago when the Giants were in town in that Thursday game, and he went 6 innings, only allowed 1 run. If they can get that Robbie Ray to pitch for them for the rest of the season, obviously I don't think he's going to maintain a level of having a barely over 1 ERA. But if he can be solid, consistent, and the thing that I liked about both of those guys, they are guys that eat up innings. They can go deep into games. So you don't really have to rely on using the bullpen night in and night out on a consistent basis if all goes well, which is huge for them. But the other part of this is, they're expiring contracts, obviously, because the Padres, prospect system is not very good. Their farm system's not good, ranked worst in the MLB. They really couldn't get much back in return, so they got 2 expiring contracts. So, we're probably going to have a lockout next year anyway, so it may not even matter. But what this told me was the Padres are really going for it. Like, they're going for the World Series this year. Their window is shrinking year by year.
Kind of the point, isn't it?
Correct, and it is. And, that's why they make the trades, and that's why they go for it. But it's what I've been saying for so long. A.J. Preller was always going to be a buyer. He was always going to make moves. He always believes that this roster can make a big enough run to go and win the World Series. And here they are. And I think Gage Workman, we might look back at this and say that was an underrated part of this deal, because if he can hit like he did in the minors, I think they've got a pretty good left-handed bat that they've been able to bring along as well.
Look, they gave themselves a semblance of a rotation, and we all, if you haven't heard, I'm sure you have if you're listening to this show, you had the Nick Pivetta scare, but it sounds like maybe he's going to be okay. And then Joe Musgrove working his way back. If this team is able to put it together, and all of a sudden you have a Michael King, Robbie Ray, Casey Mize, Joe Musgrove, Nick Pivetta, 5-man rotation, you feel really good about that.
A lot more formidable than what they had recently.
John's shaking his head. You don't feel good about that?
No, come on. It's next man up mentality. What happened in the first half of the season? They stunk. They played 500 baseball. Right now, if the playoffs started tomorrow, the Padres wouldn't go. All of this, if that, if. Well, all those ifs happened in the negative way in the first half, and the Padres didn't react. They're sitting outside of the playoffs right now looking in.
But let me address this argument. Let me ask this. So, yes, I agree. All that did happen, and it was ugly. It was really bad at times, right?
At times,
But
yeah.
with that being said, they're still 2 games out of a playoff spot. So do you think that it's incredible that they're even in this position given how bad it was, and now that they've got some of that reinforcements and the offense is picked up, that they can make that run? Are you saying, look, we've seen what this team is, and no matter what they do, I don't think they're going to get any better, and I don't think it's happening?
Yeah, I just think, and when we talk about how bad things were in the first half of the season, a lot of it was the offense not performing.
Yeah.
And a lot of the talk was, hey, even though us batters are not performing, we're still doing well with a winning record. Well, imagine how much better you'd be doing if you were hitting the baseball. You'd be challenging the Dodgers for the division title. Instead, you're 10 games out. And right now, the Dodgers have lost 6 in a row. Here we are again in August. The Dodgers aren't playing well. Golden opportunity to start winning some ball games and win a division title. And these guys are just happy being 2 games out of the final wildcard spot. Start playing some baseball.
John's going off. I do agree with John, though. I think like the reason why they are where they are is, and why they don't play consistently bad for an entire season, is because the roster on paper is too good for them to be that. And yes, you could look at a team like the Mets and say the same thing, and they're awful. Granted, they just swept my Guardians, so whatever. Not that my Guardians are playing good baseball anyway. I just have to talk about that too. But the Padres recently have gotten better. Their hitting has gotten better. They've been a little inconsistent in the series against the Diamondbacks.
The best offenses since mid-June.
Correct. Mm-hmm. I do think that there are just fundamental problems with this team, and it's the same one. It's consistency. We just recently saw them go on a fantastic stretch, although they did not play really good teams. But
Really
right
bad
now, they're playing a Diamondbacks team that's in the playoff picture. They're in right now. And, best case scenario, as we record this, they split that series 2-2. Then you got a red-hot Astros team. Then you got the Brewers, who are arguably the best team in baseball right now. This is where you're really going to show what you're made of. Trade deadline this, trade deadline that. They were playing better. They got the guys over in the trade deadline. You got to play. You got to show up. I agree with John. This roster is made to win. It's not to sit back and be like, oh, we're still 2 games out. Like, I'm kind of tired of the narrative of looking every single day and be like, okay, how many games out are they out today? Like, it's just like the Padres really need to step it up as a whole. This is it. I mean, like, we're at the end of the season. They've made these trades for these expiring deals. It's now or never. Padres got to go. They got to go.
I mean, yeah, right, for sure. Easy said. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Look, I think we're talking about the facts of the season, where this team's at, what they need to do. All that's true. What I would say about the trade deadline is I think they gave themselves at least a realistic chance. Had they not gotten those 2 starters, there is a 0% chance this team was making a postseason run or even making it into the postseason. I think at least A.J. Preller, and without being reckless, you look at the prospects he traded, people say, 2 of the top 10, for the Robbie Ray deal. Well, that's the Padres top 10, not MLB top 10. So I think it was a very controlled deadline for A.J. Preller. I thought he executed in enough of a way to give this team an opportunity to try and make the postseason. And now to Karthik's and John's point, we'll see if they can do it. There's no excuses for this team, that's for sure. The roster is there at this point, and hopefully they can get a couple starting pitchers back. We're going to come back here in just a moment on the final quarter on CBS 8+. Stick around. We got plenty more to talk about, including Chucky Lozano. Is he finally done at San Diego Football Club? And we're going to talk a little bit about the National Football League and the Aztecs getting ready to start their football season. It's all coming up here on the final quarter on CBS 8+. We continue to have a very spirited conversation about the Padres while in the break, and honestly, I think most of San Diego is having that conversation as we start to wind down on this baseball season. I made the statement of saying I don't think I'd be surprised either way, whether this team does miss the playoffs because of what it has been like this year, or if they do get in. It just feels like, yeah, I could see both scenarios happening. But before we move on, any final thoughts on the Padres, or should we get into SDFC, fellas?
Be consistent. That's all I got to say for the Padres.
Be consistent. Yeah. Perform to your abilities. And it's a very good roster.
It's a good roster. We'll see if they can do it and see if they can sneak into that postseason and see what happens. Meanwhile, this is not official, so we preface by saying that, but it looks like the end of the saga with Chucky Lozano and San Diego Football Club may be coming to a close. Reports coming out today, again, reports, nothing official from either team, that Chucky Lozano may end up on loan to, weirdly enough, of all teams, the LA Galaxy, an MLS rival. This would be a loan to buy scenario. We don't know any of the facts. And again, it's not official. I'm sure if it does happen, San Diego Football Club would be paying a good chunk of Chucky Lozano's salary. Let's put ourselves in the mindset that this does happen. How big of a deal is this? And I don't just mean, there's an open DP spot for San Diego Football Club, but just to move on from this, because it's just been looming over this team for almost a year now.
Well, I mean, before Elias Ashuri, they were down 2 DP spots. And prior to that, when Chucky was still a part of the team, they were down 1 DP spot. So on that front, whatever. I do think it is a little interesting that I think it's interesting in 2 ways. One, I think it's interesting because they're loaning him to an MLS rival. You would never see that in any other sport. Yeah, allegedly. Closing in on a deal is the exact quote from The Athletic.
Yeah.
So do you see what ends up happening there? I think it is interesting if to trade him away to a rival that they could, if he ends up going there, they potentially face here at the end of August. I would love to see how Chucky Lozano plays against San Diego FC in that match at Snapdragon Stadium if that were to happen.
What kind of reception would that be?
Oh, man.
Because I think there's a lot of people
They'll
mad
probably
at...
cheer him.
Yeah, because
they
I think
love
there's
him.
a lot of people mad
that
at
he's not
SDFC and
playing.
Mikey Varas. Yeah, that
Yeah.
he's not playing. So I almost agree with you. I think he would get a big
He's
round
going
of
to get an
applause.
ovation. After everything happened last year and they brought him out and he was going and handshaking with the fans even though he wasn't allowed to play, they were giving him an ovation. This crowd loves him. He's fantastic. He had 11 goals and 11 assists with this club. When he was on the field and when he was healthy and when he was playing, he was dynamic. I mean, he's a fantastic soccer player. That's not the question. The question is San Diego FC is having a hard time giving this guy away to somebody to loan him out or transfer out. And so they're just trying to find, I think at this point, anybody who'll take him so they can, like Jake said, move on from the saga because it's been this cloud hanging over this team. And, he's just sitting over there at the practice facility while the whole team's training. He's just over there in the corner training by himself. And this team keeps getting questions, asking him, when are you getting rid of Chucky? What's going on with Chucky? This, that, and the other. And it's just I think it's best this team moves on from him. In an ideal world, I don't think they want to see him go to an MLS rival by any sort of the imagination. But if that's the only person who's willing to take him and you've been waiting on this for so long, because you kind of put yourself, I think, in a bad situation by sitting there and being okay, well, he's a bad locker room presence. He can't stay healthy, and we're not even going to integrate him in our team. That doesn't give you a whole lot of leverage to just give him away to somebody else. So that's kind of where San Diego FC sits, and that's where we are.
Well, and when all this drama started at the end of last season and then even into the postseason where Coach Mikey was not starting him, although he would play and played well in the postseason, I kind of pinned it on Coach Mikey wanting to establish a culture. He wasn't going to let Chucky spoil the culture. But now as time has gone on, why has it taken so long to get rid of this guy?
You got no leverage.
Yeah, I think to Karthik's point, it's hey, bad sales pitch, right? Hey, would you like a guy that's a nuisance in the clubhouse?
Well, and he's not healthy sometimes. It's just how do you sell a guy like that? No matter how much talent he has.
Yeah, and
especially for the asking price they're probably asking for. Sorry to cut you off, John.
No, that's all right. I think it absolutely is. This guy is a problem child, and all the other MLS teams know it. They're not interested in the guy. The Mexico national team didn't bring him on for the World Cup. They said, we don't need him. So I think there's a lot to be said about Chucky, as great as a player as he is. I think he's a real problem in the clubhouse, more so than I had anticipated and expected after what had gone on last year. I thought this was more Mikey wanting to establish a culture and maybe making an example of Chucky. But I think the lack of interest from other teams, including the Mexico national team, just tells me nobody wants this guy.
I'm just curious what also happened in the offseason, that you could integrate him back in the team in the postseason after everything that happened, but then you can't then integrate him into the club in the next season. After stating that they wanted to work it out as the season wrapped up at the end of last season, this whole thing's been a mess. Moving on is the best thing.
It's one of those situations where the silence is deafening, right? All that time you go, hey, nobody else wants him. Why doesn't anybody else want him? Well, everything we just laid out, and it's the reason why he's going to end up likely at an MLS rival. It's literally the only warm-blooded thing that will take Chucky Lozano right now. We'll see what happens. SDFC is actually playing in Leagues Cup. As we record tonight, they're going to take on Club America. Then they'll play Tijuana. So they're going to have some...
They need to ship those matches, by the way.
Yeah.
Just get healthy with the roster and worry about the MLS season. This Leagues Cup thing's not... It should not be front of mind for them.
It's definitely tough timing right now. Go ahead.
And maybe AFC Richmond would take on Chucky Lozano.
Get Ted Lasso's hands on Chucky and get him right. Come on, baby. Before we move on, let's quickly talk about the San Diego Wave. Huge win over the weekend. Top team on the table. They take down 1-0, and another big matchup coming up for the Wave. But they've continued to really put out great quality on the pitch and have some really nice matches. And I think the win over Washington was one of their better victories all year long.
Yeah, for sure. The way that Jonas Eideval absolutely celebrated that match. I don't know if you guys have seen the video where he's just like fist pumping for like 15 seconds straight to the Wave fans that showed up for that one. It's incredible. And it tells you how much going and beating the Spirit, who have been a tough out at home, are. You got to give a shout out to Leah Godfrey in that match. What a rookie season that she's having. She might very well win Rookie of the Year for how well she's performing. So impressed with the young players on this team. But now, as Jake mentioned, such an even tougher test, because now you got to go take on Gotham FC on the road. This has been a super long stretch for the Wave. Gotham's top team in the table. This one's going to be another tough one. But if the Wave can come out with 2 results, I mean, you would love to see win-win. But if you can get win-draw against the Spirit and Gotham on the road, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's great to see this, because in the first half of the season, the San Diego Wave did great. And then coming out of the international break, they were kind of slow and stumbling. And so, like you say, if they can go win-win or even win-draw, that might be just what they were looking for to get their season back on track to what it was in the first half of the year.
And we'll talk about football of a different kind now, transitioning to the National Football League. The San Diego Los Angeles Chargers.
Oh, you both got today.
We're 9 years out, and we dropped another San Diego Chargers.
Here's why it really came out. The Los Angeles Chargers held training camp here in San Diego, which made it quite tricky for me.
Just for 2 days, they were the San Diego Chargers.
Yeah, they were back. So they were down here for a couple of days, and really cool to kind of see them. Well, cool's not the right word. There's a lot to be said about that, but there was a good experience, I guess, to have them down here. I think it opens up a lot of wounds every time you have the team down here. I think a lot of people that I talked to, John, you and I were both out there, and most of the people just miss them. There's still a lot of anger. There's still a lot of frustration. There were still a ton of fans out there too, but I think a lot of people just miss them, and it is a bummer the way it all worked out. But one of the cool things that I thought did happen, did you want to say something before
I was just going to, on the topic, last year when they had training camp at USD,
limited.
It was not open to the public. It was invitation only to the military or season ticket holders. This year was open to the public. And I wondered if some anti-Charger fans would show up and be yelling at Spanos, but I didn't see a one. I didn't hear of any out there. And I think when we really break this down, the people that hate the Chargers for leaving, they don't hate the Chargers. They hate the Charger ownership for moving the team. And I think that's part of the reason you have this team out at USD practicing, is an opportunity to go watch some of the best athletes in the world, have practice sessions. And so I think that's why it was fun to have them back, cool to see, but it doesn't take away the anger and the frustration towards the Spanos family for moving the team out of San Diego.
In the heartbreak, like I was a diehard Chargers fan before they left, and you kind of go out there, you get around the team again, you go, God, I want to love this again, but there's that part of you that just can't. One thing that was very neat for me, at least, was getting to help tell somebody that he was going into the Chargers Hall of Fame. And what was super special is Anthony Miller was a San Diego Charger his entire career. Well, I mean, he went to play on for a couple other teams, but while in a Chargers uniform, he was a San Diego Charger in the late 80s through the 90s, and he was enshrined, or going to be enshrined, into the Chargers Hall of Fame. I got the opportunity to kind of make the announcement to the crowd and talk to Anthony, so here he is. Now, I have one big announcement to make here. Anthony just found this out, and nobody in the public knows. You Charger fans are the first people to know this. The Chargers have not released this on social media. We will be the first to know, aside from Anthony. But Anthony Miller, welcome to the Chargers Hall of Fame. Anthony, you just found out really moments ago that you were going to be enshrined into the Chargers Hall of Fame. When you found out, what did that moment mean to you?
Man, it meant so much. It's like my Hall of Fame of Canton, Ohio. And when I found out, you couldn't have been around me because you would have got tears all over you. I was so excited. I'm happy because I'm going in with my teammate, John Carney, who we've been in the locker room together, so it's special. I'm pretty sure it's special with him. I wish he was here, but I'm very excited.
What made it so emotional for you?
I've been waiting, and the thing was, my mom is 84, and she's always been there for me from day one, and I wanted her to see it, and she can see it now. So I'm very excited. You know, my dad passed away in 2013, but, you know, I have my siblings and my kids, my grandkids. So we're going to get them all out there and celebrate the Miller. This no money or anything can buy that, you know, pay for what just has happened. And I'm just very excited.
And it's so perfect the announcement came here in San Diego where you played so much of your career. When you think back to the memories of being a San Diego Charger, what pops into your head?
You know, the funniest thing, being here, we used to scrimmage, our inter-squad scrimmage was here.
Really?
So I'm used to this field, but just coming back to San Diego where, you know, I got hurt my senior year in college, and the Chargers gave me an opportunity, and I felt I did well for them the 6 years I was here, and I'm just very excited.
Did you have a moment or any sort of milestone that stuck out to you while you had the bolt on your helmet?
Yeah. Against the rivalry Raiders, my second year in the league, I run back almost, I think it was a 90-something yard kickoff return to win the game. Sticks out. Just against the Raiders, I'll always remember that.
That is awesome. Anthony, congratulations.
Yeah,
very happy for you. Appreciate it. Enjoy your time here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, huge congratulations to Anthony Miller, one of the good ones, and a stud, guys. I mean, over 9,100 receiving yards, over 60-plus touchdowns. So headed into the Chargers Hall of Fame with John Carney, by the way, which is very cool.
John Carney, still the Chargers' all-time leading scorer and number 5 all-time leading scorer in all the NFL.
How about that, huh? Stick with us. We're going to have some final thoughts on Aztecs football when we come back. All right, we are back here on the final quarter on the CBS 8 Plus app, and let's talk a little bit of Aztecs football. We're in camp. It's coming back. Let's first hear from head coach Sean Lewis.
Yeah, it's year 3, but it's year 1 with this team. We talk about the continuity offensively. There's quite a bit of lack of continuity defensively, right? So there's things that are always evolving. We have to adapt. I mean, I'm sure there's probably something new within the NCAA or maybe a court somewhere that changed something while we were on the practice field today as well. But man, like, how blessed are we to be able to get to do this? I mean, especially here. There's a hell of a lot harder ways to make a living, and to be really fortunate to do what we get to do and live our dreams. Like, give me all the changes, all the change-ups, all the curve balls, whatever you want to call it, and, you know, hopefully I can hit on my back foot a little bit and hang and send one over the park here.
Very interesting stuff with Sean Lewis. And if you don't remember last year, it was a season of what might have been if they'd beaten New Mexico that final game. Not only would they have been in the Mountain West Conference Championship game, they would have hosted it. Instead, they didn't even go to the title game, and they end up with a 9-4 record. Impressive and a big turnaround from the previous year. If they go 9-4, 10 wins again this year, perhaps a lot of people might be looking to pull Sean Lewis away to another university. We'll see. But I'm looking forward to seeing Lucky Sutton do well this year at running back.
Yeah, Lucky Sutton's going to be a beast, man. And I just think for San Diego State in general, you got to keep the winning vibes going, but you got to win some important ones this year to get real. That Cal game got people, I think, a little more excited about this program. Winning games like that get people excited around your program. You want people to really come consistently, fill Snapdragon Stadium, be there, be loud, have pride around this program, and rebuild that excitement. You got to win some big games. And so I'm looking for San Diego State to do that. And with that, you mentioned Lucky Sutton. I'll give you Jaden Denegal last year. He had been going through the entire season pretty much with that shoulder injury. Everyone talks about how much of a rocket of an arm this guy has, and when he's on his game, how accurate he can be. If he can stay healthy this year, I'd like to see how far he can take the San Diego State offense.
Should be a lot of fun for the Aztecs as we get set to head into football season. And that's going to do it for us here on the final quarter on the CBS 8 Plus app. On behalf of John Howard and Karthik Venkatram, and I'm Jake Uriani. Take care, all.
Bye.